UFC Fight Night Vegas 51, Luque versus Muhammad 2 takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card. It's not an amazing card. In all honesty, it's quite an appalling and shocking and disrespectful card to the UFC fan base. However, I'm still going to break it down, starting with the early prelim opener of Heili Alateng versus Kevin Croom. I'm starting with Kevin Croom here as an underdog. I think the odds are completely incorrect. I think the odds are mainly based on the fact that Heili Alateng at one point in his career beat Dana Batgarel, which people are quite high on. I was quite high on Dana Batgarel as well, but it turns out if Dana Batgarel doesn't score a KO over you, he's not the best technically on the feet, and he can be quite easily humiliated in the stand-up department. So Heili Alateng had an amazing chin. He has an amazing chin. We saw that in the Casey Kenny fight. This is why he survived Dana Batgarel and won that fight eventually by unanimous decision. I do believe that Kevin Croom's going to get this one done, however. He's a big guy for the bantamweight division. This is at bantamweight, by the way. He's going to have a 5 inches of height advantage, which isn't really an advantage, but Heili Alateng is not really a little tank of a guy at bantamweight anyway, so it's not like he's got a width advantage or anything like that. So Kevin Croom's going to be the much bigger man. I doubt he will even make the limit, so he's going to have an advantage even if he does miss weight, and even if he does drain himself to make weight. Heili Alateng's not really a KO blow kind of guy anyway, so I am going to be going with Kevin Croom here. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage here over Heili Alateng. He was looking really good in the early rounds against Brian Kelleher on short notice. I know that was a catchweight bout, but still, he took that on short notice, eventually started to slow down as the fight went on and got out grappled in certain areas. But on the feet, which is where I believe this fight will take place, Kevin Croom looked really good against Brian Kelleher early on. The odds are completely incorrect. I'd say get some money on Kevin Croom as an underdog. 7-inch reach advantage. He already likes to play that game on the outside where he's an awkward guy to deal with anyway. And I don't think Heili Alateng's that good whatsoever either. So I'm going to go with Kevin Croom getting the job done. 29-28, unanimous decision. Maybe wins the first 2 rounds. Maybe loses the 3rd round to Heili Alateng. But I reckon he gets this one done. Alex Caceres ain't too bad. You know what I mean? He had a pretty interesting fight with Sodiq Yusuff. So I don't think I'm going to blame Kevin Croom for losing that one. Even though he hasn't yet got a win in the UFC, technically, he did beat Roosevelt Roberts. It got overturned to a no contest because of a bit of that devil's lettuce. Either way, Kevin Croom gets this one done on the outside, being awkward, coached by James Krause. He gets this one done by unanimous decision, I do believe, in the early 2 rounds of this fight. Moving on up the card, Istela Nunes versus Sam Hughes. Gotta go with Istela Nunes here. She looked really good against Ariane Carnelossi in her debut. Really, really good against Ariane Carnelossi, and I think she actually had some potential there. Ariane Carnelossi is one of the most blatantly roid-abusing female fighters there is. And Istela Nunes was beating her very, very convincingly on the feet early on. Got taken down a couple of times, don't get me wrong. I don't see Sam Hughes really being able to ragdoll her in the grappling department, and Istela Nunes genuinely did look like a capable female fighter whilst that fight was on the feet against Ariane Carnelossi, and she was winning it very, very comfortably. And Carnelossi is on roids. She's 14-2. She's got wins in the UFC. I'm going to go with Istela Nunes here over Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes has just been outclassed in her UFC bouts so far. Some close ones that she's lost. I'm just not going to be picking her here. Plus Istela Nunes, who's already really good on the feet and likes to keep range, has a 2-inch reach advantage here whilst being a shorter opponent. I think that's going to give her an advantage like it does for guys like Alexander Volkanovski. I'm going with Istela Nunes getting this one done by unanimous decision. 30-27, edging out every round on the feet with her stand-up. Moving on up the card, Jordan Leavitt versus Trey Ogden. I'm going to have to go with Jordan Leavitt here. Trey Ogden's not even that bad of a prospect. I was watching some of his regional fights, I'll be honest. He's not the best, though. He shouldn't even really be in the UFC, to be honest with you, so he is a bad prospect, but this is the card that we've given ourselves here. Thank you, UFC. The best year in the promotion, you say? Must be why the cards are so amazing. Jordan Leavitt gets this one done by submission. 3 of the 4 losses of Trey Ogden are by way of submission. He's a grappler first as well, which means he's going to play right into the game of Jordan Leavitt. If this was a newcomer that had some KO power in his hands and had some aggressiveness early on with some first-round finishing ability with KO blows, maybe I'd pick him against Jordan Leavitt, but he's going to play right into the game of Jordan Leavitt, and he's already been submitted by 3 out of 4 of his losses in the first round for a lot of them as well. So I'm going to go with Jordan Leavitt getting the job done by submission. He has got a really good grappling game. He's very awkward to deal with down there, and he finds submissions out of nowhere. I think he got an inverted triangle in his last fight against Matt Sales. Trey Ogden is going to lose by submission. Leavitt gets it done by first round sub, in my opinion. Let's say arm triangle or rear naked. Moving on up the card, Chris Barnett versus Martin Buday. I love Chris Barnett. In ways, he is my spirit animal. I want to see him succeed in the UFC. I called him to win his last fight by spinning kick finish. I want to see more of it because he can be a star. Martin Buday is just too big in my opinion, and he plays that clinch game against a cage so well. And there's one thing that we've seen that Chris Barnett doesn't like, is a high pace and also a grappling match. Or not a grappling match, it's a high pace and it's also a pressure-based fight. He didn't look good against Ben Rothwell when he was on his back foot. When he was smothered, he wasn't able to land those spinning kicks. When he fought Jan Vellante, they fought at range quite a bit, and that opened himself up to land some of those spinning kicks that he did. But against Martin Buday, I don't think he's going to get any space whatsoever. Buday's got a bit of a reach advantage as well. I think he's going to put the pressure on Chris Barnett, and also Chris Barnett has lost 7 times. He's also 35 years of age. Been finished a lot in his career. Martin Buday seemed okay on the Contender Series. Has got a good chin. So I think I'm going to trust him to get the job done over at Chris Barnett here. Although I really want Chris Barnett to win, I just don't see it going that way. So I am going with Martin Buday getting this one done by pressuring Chris Barnett against a cage. Maybe by decision, just by having a bit of a scrappy bout where Barnett has big moments where maybe he stumbles Martin Buday in certain moments, but then Buday gets to clinch, pushes him against a cage, and has some moments there, and just beats him against a clinch, in my opinion, like a women's MMA fight. Martin Buday gets this one done. Unanimous decision, 30-27. Sad as it is, I don't see Barnett winning. I really want him to, but oh well. I wish this was on the main card, though, in all honesty. Moving on, up the card, Rafa Garcia versus Jesse Ronson. Ronson's just been too inactive, man. Way too inactive for me to trust him. He actually did show some good signs of a good UFC prospect when he came into the UFC at about 2014. He had a really close fight with Francisco Trinaldo, which isn't easy to do. So I do respect Jesse Ronson. He is quite good. He then beat Nicholas Dalby as well at welterweight, but he was being beaten the entire time. Landed a big punch out of nowhere because Dalby's pretty defensively irresponsible. That is a good win. But coming down to lightweight, I think Rafa Garcia is going to have a big advantage here. He's been really, really active. Even though he's been losing fights, he's been getting right back in there 3 or 4 months later. He just beat a good opponent by the name of Natan Levy, the guy from the Contender Series. He had a close fight with him, but he got the job done. He shows visible improvements fight to fight. I believe he's going to improve for this one as well. 27 years of age, all the time to improve. Jesse Ronson, incredibly inactive, 36 years of age. And also Rafa Garcia hasn't beat like absolute cans on a regional scene. He's fought some decent opponents. Not the best of opponents, but still not cans. He's decent. I know he lost to Chris Gruettemacher, which doesn't look good, but Ronson's been so inactive, I just don't trust it. Rafa Garcia gets this one done. Plus, Ronson's been injured in his time off as well, so he hasn't been training and developing and getting better. If anything, he's been regressing over that time off, whereas Rafa Garcia has put the work in, staying active, and he's trying to get better and better. Rafa Garcia gets this one done, 29-28, fun scrap of a fight. Rafa Garcia edges out the rounds that he needs to and gets the job done against Jesse Ronson. Moving on, up the card, Drakkar Klose versus Brandon Jenkins. Again, what's going on, UFC? Brandon Jenkins, doesn't belong here. He lost to Zhu Rong in his debut, okay? Fair play, he beat Jacob Kilburn, who was formerly in the UFC, but terrible in the UFC, by the way. Brandon Jenkins does not belong in the UFC. Rong Zhu is not very good. We found that out recently against Ignacio Bahamondes. I know Bahamondes is very good, but at the same time, he had nothing for Bahamondes over the 3 rounds. Has a win over Brandon Jenkins, which doesn't look good for Brandon Jenkins, in my opinion, because I think Rong Zhu kind of got exposed as a bit of a hype train and not as good as we thought he was. So I'm going to go with Drakkar Klose, man. He had a good fight with Beneil Dariush. He was winning against Beneil Dariush in the second round at one point until he got cracked and put away, of course. Everyone remembers that KO. He also had his back taken, stayed calm against Dariush. I know he's cheating to do finger manipulation and stuff like that, but I'll take it. If you cheat, you cheat. It benefits you if the referee don't see, so I'm putting my money on that as well. Same way I did with Tim Elliott against Tagir Lembekov. So I think Drakkar Klose is going to get this one done. His win over Bobby Green, which was razor close, by the way, no pun intended, has aged very, very well. Beat Bobby Green. He's got some decent wins on his record. Beat Mark Jacasey. Pretty good win. Like, he's not a bottom feeder at lightweight. He's like a top 25, top 30 guy. So I'm going to go with Drakkar Klose beating Brandon Jenkins. I reckon he'll get a finish as well. He's been pretty inactive, but I reckon he finishes off Brandon Jenkins in the second round by TKO or something along those lines. Moving on up the card, Lina Lansberg versus Pannie Kianzad. Gotta go with Pannie Kianzad. Lina Lansberg isn't too good whatsoever. Do not trust her to win this one whatsoever. Pannie Kianzad somewhat decent, somewhat technically sound as well. I just don't see Lina What is this card, man? What am I supposed to do with this card, man? Like, fair play, Pannie Kianzad lost to Raquel Pennington. But in hindsight, Raquel Pennington's looking really good recently. And Lina Lansberg just doesn't really have any great wins in her career, in all honesty. Like, she beat some of the older girls that are now out of the UFC or have been proven to not be as good as we thought they were. I'll take a close loss to Raquel Pennington in her last fight over anything that Lina Lansberg has done. So I'm going to go with Pannie Kianzad winning this one on the feet for 3 rounds. She's got a slight reach advantage. I see this fight taking place on the feet. I'm going to go over 29-28, maybe 30-27. Every round's pretty close, but Pannie Kianzad edges out every round. Plus, she's 10 years younger. I'm going with Pannie Kianzad getting this one done. Thank you very much, Pannie Kianzad. Everyone agrees with me on this as well, so I'm definitely going with Pannie Kianzad here. Moving on up the card, Devin Clark versus William Knight. Heavyweight bout. No, yes, it is a heavyweight bout, isn't it? It's at 265 pounds because they took it on short notice. I think that massively benefits William Knight because he doesn't have to cut as much weight. And I think that non-weight cut benefits him way more than it does Devin Clark. Also, William Knight has been active recently. Devin Clark has been out with a horrific injury, if you remember what Cutelaba did to this poor man. I mean, he had a decent fight with Cutelaba, but Cutelaba fucking dominated the better proportion of that fight, in all honesty, and knocked his lower jaw off. Pretty much. Not jaw. Detached his lower gum. You're going to fight the same after that with the same mentality against a big power puncher in William Knight, or are you going to be hesitant and second guessing yourself? That's a real horrific injury that he had. It was literally like a peninsula of his gums that were just risen up because of Cutelaba's uppercut, I believe it was, that he landed, or a knee to the face that he landed on him. And his teeth were raised up on a secondary level of gummage. I just couldn't. I don't want to even think about it. It was a horrific injury. He's been recovering from that, which means he hasn't been training the entire time. William Knight lost to Maxim Grishin, but Maxim Grishin's pretty good. Other than that, William Knight, pretty good fighter himself. I'm going to go with William Knight getting this one done. He beat Alonzo Manyfield. William Knight, heavyweight benefits him more. More powerful, more athletic. I don't think Clark's going to be the same after that injury Cutelaba gave him. Hesitant in the first round. William Knight scores a big KO win in an explosive back and forth round. Plus, Devin Clark's taken way more damage in his career as well. So, William Knight gets it done by first round KO. Moving on up the card to the main card. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Munir Lazez. Gotta go over Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I thought he beat Muslim Salikov, which is a very good win in the welterweight division. Munir Lazez hasn't quite lived up to the expectations we had of him. Of course, that is a loss to Wale Alves. Wale Alves is pretty decent, but still, it's not good to see a guy go down to body shots that quickly in a fight. I know Wale Alves is pretty explosive in the first round, but still, I'm going to have to trust in the experience of Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. He's not even that much older. It's not like Munir Lazez is the young guy with a bunch of improvements to make. He's 34. Zaleski dos Santos is 35. Had a great performance against Benoit Saint Denis, who I thought was a great prospect coming into the UFC. I actually picked Benoit Saint Denis to beat Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, but he couldn't do it. Munir Lazez does have a reach advantage, but Elizeu plays the game of striking so well, and this is going to be a striking match. So I do see Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos giving Munir Lazez more than he can handle on the feet, winning a 29-28 competitive decision, maybe a 30-27. I just think he's way better on the feet, way more technical, way more experienced. He's fought better names. He beat Muslim Salikov, in my honest opinion, and that's a very, very good win to have at welterweight, I must say. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos gets the decision win. No upset there, in my opinion. Moving on up the card, Pat Sabatini versus TJ Laramie. I'm going to be going with Pat Sabatini here. Pretty straightforward pick, in my opinion. Another favourite here. I picked a couple of underdogs this card. We'll get to them in a second. But other than that, Pat Sabatini beats TJ Laramie. TJ Laramie is... He was on roids on the regional scene. He came into the UFC, looked like a fat little fucking hobbit, and didn't look good. His body looked completely different. He's got decent grappling, but Sabatini's a great grappler himself, so I do not see TJ Laramie getting this one done. He had a fight booked against Gavin Tucker, so he's had more notice for this fight than TJ Laramie. It's been rescheduled a couple of weeks later for him. Laramie's filled in for Gavin Tucker. I believe Pat Sabatini gets this one done very easily. He's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC. Beat Jamal Emmers with a leg lock. Beat Tristan Connolly as well, which is a decent win, I guess. The guy who beat Mikel Pereira, of course. And he beat Tucker Lutz, which is equally a very good win as well. Used his grappling to win there, so I definitely do believe Sabatini gets this one done. Submission expert, great grappling, bigger guy than TJ Laramie as well. Bigger reach as well on the feet that he can hide behind. Laramie's young, but he's just a little hobbit. Samwise Gamgee don't get it done today. Sabatini gets this one done. Plus, TJ Laramie in his debut dived straight into a submission with no awareness of it whatsoever, immediately into a guillotine. I'm going with Pat Sabatini getting this one done by first round sub. Put it in the books. Moving on. Up the card, Mayra Bueno Silva versus Yanan Wu. Mayra Bueno Silva here for me. Pretty straightforward. She's shorter with a reach advantage. I think that benefits her. Yanan Wu's been incredibly inactive. Mayra Bueno Silva's been way more active. I think that means she's going to start a lot faster. And one thing I like about Mayra Bueno Silva is that she starts fast and she invests a lot of her shots early on. We saw that against Manon Fiorot. She was going to the body against Manon Fiorot, who just handled Jennifer Maia pretty easily, I must say. Mayra Bueno Silva gave her more of a fight than Jennifer Maia did. And Jennifer Maia is a top contender in the women's flyweight division. I know she's taking on a bigger girl here than usual in Yanan Wu because she's moving up to bantamweight, but I believe Mayra Bueno Silva gets this one done by decision. 29-28. Yanan Wu might win the third when Mayra slows down a bit, but in the first 2 rounds, Yanan Wu's inactivity, I think, is going to leave Mayra Bueno Silva to take an early lead and win herself the first 2 rounds. Shorter, reach advantage, stand-up fight. I think she has the grappling advantage as well. Yanan Wu's young. Maybe she can improve and impress me, but just way too inactive. I'm going to trust the activity, the consistency, and overall the decent performance she had against Manon Fiorot, who I believe is far more talented than Yanan Wu by far. So I'm going to go with Mayra Bueno Silva, 29-28, unanimous decision based on the first 2 rounds. Moving on, up the card, Miguel Baeza versus Andre Fialho. Here's where my interesting predictions begin. Miguel Baeza's the favourite. Andre Fialho KOs him in the first round. Miguel Baeza's chin, pointy as hell, no broadness to it, no broadness to the neck. Don't think he has a great chin whatsoever. Knocked down by Matt Brown in the first round, almost put away by Matt Brown. He beat Takashi Sato, and that's his win that puts him in like a good spot in the UFC. It's Takashi Sato, he looked awful against Gunnar Nelson. Awful, like he didn't even belong. Takes away a bit of value from Miguel Baeza, in my opinion, there. He did look good against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio eventually overcame him and got the job done. Did a ton of damage to Miguel Baeza in that fight as well. Maybe the Santiago Ponzinibbio war that he had is enough to say that he probably wins, but he's just been KO'd by Chaos Williams. Couple of damaging fights that he's had now in his career. Got laid out cold badly by Chaos Williams. Was doing decently okay in that fight, but it's not like he was comfortably winning it before the KO or anything like that. So I'm going to go Andre Fialho. Came in on very short notice against Mikel Pereira and won the first round pretty convincingly, in my opinion. He trains at a great gym, Sanford MMA. I know that Miguel Baeza trains at MMA Masters, which is equally a good gym, but I think MMA at welterweight is best at Sanford MMA. Vicente Luque, who's on this card, probably main sparring partners for this card. That's going to be a big benefit for him. I think Andre Fialho gets this one done. Great team, great training partners. Looked good against Pereira on short notice. Very short notice as well, by the way. Won the first round against him. Pereira eventually got the second and the third, but even then in the third, Fialho looked okay in the third, but started to slow down quite a bit. I think on a full camp, he looks a lot better across the distance, but I don't think he's even going to need it. I think he gets a first round KO on Miguel Baeza here, who's too easily hit and has had too much damage in his fights. Plus, is coming off a very bad KO. So in the first round of this fight, I think he's going to be a bit hesitant, a bit worried about being KO'd again, and that's going to lead him to get KO'd. Andre Fialho gets this one done against Miguel Baeza. And plus, shorter by far, not too much of a reach disadvantage, which I always like to see. And younger, more to improve on. So yeah, Andre Fialho gets this one done. Moving and more experienced. Let's be real, whilst being younger. Andre Fialho, first round KO. Moving on up the card. Cal Borralho versus Gadziomar Gadziev. God, stop repeating your name. It's sad. But like either way, Borralho, I think, gets this one done as the underdog. I think he's very, very good. Gadziev has really good grappling, but I have watched a very good performance, and I've noticed a very good performance, by Borralho against that absolute lab experiment at light heavyweight, Jailton Almeida. They had a grappling match. Omar Gadziev is a good grappler. He's taken guys to a decision. It's not like it's an immediate submission whoever he takes on. He's not one of those types of Dagestanis. He is an undefeated guy with the surname that ends with a V or a Z. However, Borralho is very good. He's got a reach advantage of 3.5 inches here, but on Tapology it says it's way more. Tapology says Omar Gadziev has like a 67-inch reach, something like that. So I'm going to guess it's somewhere in between, which gives Borralho a big reach advantage to work with here, whilst being shorter. Very beneficial for him. I like that he's a bit shorter here. Gives him a better chance, lower center of gravity to deal with those takedowns. Keeps his hands quite low anyway. He's also got power in the first round. He can finish fights in the first round. He's got good grappling defense. I think Borralho gets this one done by first round finish here against Omar Gadziev. And I think he's going to survive some grappling attempts first and then finish it off towards the end of the first round. Jailton Almeida is a lab experiment mutant. Okay? He is going to be a monster in the light heavyweight division. And Borralho had a grappling match with him and didn't get subbed. Lost based on escaping a submission slower than Jailton Almeida did. Escaping submission attempts by Jailton Almeida in a grappling match, making it to the distance in order for that rule to even be implemented to decide a winner. I'm going with Borralho here. I think he's got good grappling defense. There's evidence of that. Gadziev has beaten some decent opponents. So has Borralho. I reckon Borralho gets this one done. And I think he gets it done by late first round TKO as an underdog as well with a big reach advantage. Moving on up the card, Vicente Luque versus Belal Muhammad. It hurts to say, I'm the biggest Vicente Luque fan in the world. I've got a real feeling Belal wins this one, and I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick Belal Muhammad in the main event here. And I'm going to pick him by 4th round rear naked choke or 5th round rear naked choke. Luque hates volume. He hates volume. I know you can say he's improved, but like, it was just a couple of years ago where Niko Price was winning. Niko Price, just a couple of years ago, was winning by putting constant pressure on Vicente Luque. Price doesn't have the best of chins. You know what I mean? Belal Muhammad arguably, he got KO'd in the first fight and stuff, but I think he's a completely different fighter because he's on roids now. Very obviously. Look at the body type and how it has changed. Simple as that. He's on roids. Don't know how much clearer I can be. Look at Belal Muhammad in his earlier fights in the UFC. Look at his body. And that was at like late 20s in terms of years of age. Belal Muhammad now looks like an absolute phenom of an athlete with massive muscles in the welterweight division. He is jacked for the welterweight division now. And you don't just learn how to get in shape halfway through your professional career. That does not happen. You don't make those types of gains. Dude's on roids. His head's growing. He's got spots all over him as well. Belal Muhammad gets this one done. I think he's going to put volume on Luque. It's going to stop Luque from being able to find his timing early. And I think Belal's just going to be out there going, what? Pop, pop, what, pop, pop, and stuff like that. Eventually, Luque's going to start to slow down. He's going to start landing some good shots. He's going to start missing some really big shots. He's going to slow down even more. Belal's going to make him grapple. Luque's going to be getting back up to his feet. I think he'll defend and get back up early on in this fight. But I think as the fight goes on, he's going to start to wear down in those moments. Belal's very good, man. And I think it's time people stop discrediting him because he's ugly, which is mainly the reason why people discredit him. And he's also kind of annoying. I get that as well. But I think Belal's very good here. And I think this is a great matchup for him. I know he got KO'd in the first fight, but you can't deny the man has massively improved. He's on a crazy win streak right now, looking very good in his recent fights. Just beat Wonderboy Thompson very, very impressively. More impressively than Gilbert Burns, who just managed to scare off Chimaev from grappling with him. I think Belal Muhammad's got an advantage here. He's going to grapple, mix in the volume, and Luque's not going to be able to find his timing. He's not going to be able to find his timing, in my opinion. His head's going to get pinged back. He didn't like the Brian Barberena fight. He was losing to Brian Barberena before getting that 3rd round KO. And I know Luque does have a knack of finding those moments in fights and getting those finishes out of nowhere. I think Belal's going to pop him in the face, put off his timing with volume, Eventually go for some takedowns as well. Luque will get right back up, but by doing this, he's going to wear down in energy. Belal's on roids, massive amounts of roids, and I think he's going to keep pushing that pace on Luque. And eventually in the 4th and 5th round, Luque's going to give up a neck on the ground, trying to get back up in a sloppy fashion, and Belal's going to take the back, start landing some big shots on him. Luque gives up the neck, rear naked choke for Belal Muhammad. He gets this one done by 4th or 5th round TKO. I reckon Belal's got this one in the bag. I know Luque might have improved. I just think Belal's improved more. Physically, mentally, skill-wise. Luque hates volume. And when you mix up grappling, you can really put off a power puncher wanting to commit to those shots. Muhammad gets this one done by 4th or 5th round sub. I'm sorry, Luque fans. I'm the biggest Luque fan. He's the pound for pound most consistently entertaining fighter in the history of the UFC. You cannot find me another guy like that. Every single one of his fights is amazing. I love this guy. I'm the biggest fan. I hate Belal's cringy ass. He annoys me. He's going to win. He's going to win. 4th or 5th round sub. And also, Hail Mary. I know this isn't a part of predictions that people normally like to see, but I will take you back through every main event since Ngannou versus Gane. Last weekend, UFC 273, the favourite Alexander Volkanovski won. The weekend before that, Blades versus Dorcas. The favourite in Blades won. The weekend before that, Aspinall Volkov. Aspinall ended the favourite. He won. We go back before that, Santos Ankalaev. Ankalaev was the favourite. He won. UFC 272. Main event, Covington, Masvidal. Covington was the favourite. He won. Makhachev versus Green. Makhachev was the favourite. He won. Dos Anjos versus Fiziev. Never happened. Walker versus Hill was the replacement. Hill was the favourite. He won. UFC 271. Adesanya Whitaker. I thought Whitaker got the decision. They gave it to Adesanya. The favourite won. Hermansson versus Strickland. Strickland was the favourite. He won. UFC 270. And Ngannou gets the upset. Arguably shouldn't have been an underdog anyway, but either way, there hasn't been an upset for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 main events of fight cards in a row. I'm not one to put juju on things or anything like that. Consider it, boys. Don't call me crazy here. Belal's got this style-wise, and that witchcraft is in play. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye. Click that button up there. And toodle pip. Arrivederci.